Hare Krishna, and welcome to this online festival for the Incorporation Day of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We will celebrate the real day on the 14th of July, but before and on the day, we have a series of interviews with leaders in ISKCON who will speak on different purposes. We chose experts in especially in the areas represented by those purposes, and they will provide us with insights on Srila Prabhupada's mood, intention, historical perspectives, and different angles. So today we'll have an interview on the first of the 7 purposes of ISKCON. And I'll read it for you. To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, and to educate all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. And our very, very special guest today is His Holiness Bhakti Vijnana Maharaj, famous leader in our movement, is an initiating spiritual master. In fact, is one of the first few second-generation spiritual masters, not directly initiated by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj joined in Russia when Russia was the Soviet Union, and the movement was still underground, was still forbidden. And he also served many years as GVC for Russia and for other previous Soviet Union countries, also for Israel. And he has done a lot of meditation on the purposes of ISKCON, the 7 purposes. He also has he has written a book actually on the purposes of ISKCON. And so we are extremely happy to welcome him. Thank you, Maharaj, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we can start with the first question, if you're okay with that.
Yes, fine.
Okay. So the first question today would be, Srila Prabhupada stresses the systematic propagation of spiritual knowledge. Would you like to speak a little bit about the difference between systematic and non-systematic propagation? And this could also have historical aspects, how it was done in the past and how it was intended by Srila Prabhupada.
It's a difficult question because, we cannot say everything with exactness about this question because we have to suggest something. But nevertheless, let me try to say something in this regard. Unsystematic propagation, so many people propagating spiritual knowledge, some sort of spiritual knowledge. But usually the spiritual knowledge which is being propagated by different people, different societies, different groups, even of Indian origin, they are quite unsystematic in a sense. They are not structured. Srila Prabhupada gave a very clear structure to the whole spiritual movement, and he based his teachings firmly on the scriptures. So, first of all, it has to be based on the scriptures, and Srila Prabhupada was very emphatic that it is based on the scriptures in a progressive manner. There is Bhagavad Gita, then there is Srimad Bhagavatam, ultimately there is Chaitanya Charitamrita, but the basis, the foundation of everything is Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada gave a very clear structure to the whole book, so that everyone can really understand it and apply it to life. So systematic versus unsystematic, in my humble opinion, means to have a very clear structure, to have the understanding of the whole picture. Because people do have, in different religions and in different societies, people have some partial knowledge, which may not be completely, connected with each other. Different parts of it. But Srila Prabhupada gave us the complete whole, and every part of it fits so nicely. So if we understand the whole system of spiritual knowledge, then we will be able to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge. And of course, Srila Prabhupada, of course, also introduced a very important element to it, that is ISKCON society, also quite structured and quite organized. For us, inside the movement, we may think it's not so organized, but for the people outside of the movement, it's probably too organized.
Actually, this is the second question I wanted to ask. I put it on the banner here. Sorry, this other one. What's the importance of an organization for systematically spreading spiritual knowledge?
See, one person can, charismatic person which has some charisma, some spiritual power, he can distribute spiritual knowledge, definitely. And Srila Prabhupada showed in his own example, personal example, how one person can do this. But when we have organization, then first of all, we have the whole apparatus to do it. We have definitely manpower, and we have different levels of people who will distribute this knowledge, again, on a different level for different categories of people. Because systematic means to understand who needs what and how to, how to start practicing this knowledge, from which point. Spiritual knowledge, it's a very vast thing. It comes from the ATC, which means you're not this body, and it goes to, Rasa Lila. And this is all included into this spiritual knowledge. And definitely this spiritual knowledge is necessary, but it's necessary for different people. Different aspects of spiritual knowledge is more necessary. So systematic means the organization means that there will be different people who will propagate this knowledge to different layers and stratas of the society.
Mm-hmm. So maybe also in different styles and with different expertise.
Yeah, definitely. Different styles in different languages, because mentality of people are different. Yeah.
And next question, like a follow-up question, what to say if someone likes Krishna consciousness, the philosophy, the theology, the idea, but doesn't like organized religion for whatever reason, for whatever past experience? What to say to them?
Well, what can we say? They don't like, but one thing we can say that this is Prabhupada's desire, and that's definitely not just whimsical desire, that's his vision, because he understands that, Krishna consciousness will only be viable and will only survive if there is a vehicle which carries out this mission. And organization is very much necessary to continue this mission. Otherwise, we see that, a charismatic leader appears, he makes a splash, and then he goes back home or on whatever destination he goes, and then the whole spiritual movement is more or less finished because it's only based on him. Srila Prabhupada specifically placed an emphasis on organization. So if we want to be Prabhupada Nugas, the followers of Srila Prabhupada, we should respect organization. And moreover, I would say that organization in this sense, it's the extension of Srila Prabhupada. And if we want to serve Srila Prabhupada personally, we are deprived of this opportunity at this moment, but we still can serve him personally, understanding that ISKCON, an organization, is his extension, is his energy. You know, we know this principle. The energy and energetic are not different from each other. ISKCON is the energy of Srila Prabhupada. He put his energy, placed his energy in ISKCON, and now this energy is existing. And we can understand Srila Prabhupada by serving his energy, his extension, which is ISKCON organization. So whoever chooses whatever way he wants, but ultimately, if we want to be the followers of Srila Prabhupada, we should put importance to organization.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very profound. Now, let's go back to the text of the first purpose. Srila Prabhupada starts by saying, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large. And I would like to invite you to reflect and share on this concept of society at large. What are the best ways for ISKCON members to see themselves vis-a-vis the larger society? Because devotees could have different moods. One could be a confrontational mood. The society is way out there, and we are just to preach to it and then come back to our own basis. Or we could even run the risk of becoming completely merged, almost undistinguishable from the large society. Or maybe a healthy level of tension and differentiation. Maintaining our identity, but obviously collaborating and being part of society, or even completely isolating ourselves in self-sufficient communities. So you have a lot of experience dealing with both society at large and with the devotees and their attitudes. So I would like to ask you this. What's the best way? What would you advise for practicing devotees to how to see society at large and ISKCON relation with the society at large?
First of all, if we take the confrontational attitude towards the society at large, we will be completely contrary to the mood of this first purpose of ISKCON, which says that to achieve real unity and peace in the world. If we become just a confrontational force within the society, creating even more chaos in the society, creating one polarity, more contradictions in the society, it doesn't work. And of course, merging doesn't help either. So definitely, obviously, from your question, only the third option is a viable option. We have to maintain our distinct identity as a devotee. Otherwise, we will not be able to give anything essential to the society. But at the same time, we have to understand, and this is a very important part of the whole purpose, because Prabhupada speaks about spiritual techniques of spiritual life. But one of the important concepts which has the practical application is to understand that the whole society is one unit. We're all connected. The whole society, human society, is one living organism. And every human being in the society is a very important part of this whole organism. And if we start confrontational, way, then it's not help. It's not going to help. We have to understand that we're all connected, and by helping others, we're helping ourselves, we're helping society in general. And basically, we have to understand that we are responsible. If we understand that we are all so tightly connected with everyone. And this is a very important teaching for Bhagavad Gita, that everyone is connected with everyone else. Then we have to understand that, you know, we have to take the greater responsibility for people. So definitely the third option which you suggested is the ideal. We have to maintain our identity, not necessarily with the tension. The healthy tension will be there. I agree. It's a good formula, healthy tension. But healthy tension means I understand that I am a part of this society at large, and I am a very responsible part of this society, and I'm trying or striving to improve this society which I am a part of, not just I'm an isolated in ivory tower, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and ultimately, of course, Srila Prabhupada wanted to create brahmanas, ideally the head of society. So obviously, the head is part of the body of the society.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And
Maharaj.
Prabhupada,
Yes.
interesting. There is, I remember Gopiparandana Prabhu once gave a lecture on Varnashrama, and he said that the duty of spiritual people or brahmanas is to help other people to become more mature. So this is the very important and essential duty of the more responsible, the more knowledge you have, the more responsibility is on you. And what is this responsibility? To help people to become more mature, to help people to grow up. For that, you have to have connection with the people. Like Brahmanas were very tightly connected with the rest of the society. They were not isolated.
Thank you. Now, in this first purpose, we see a lot of stress on, as you were saying, taking responsibility for the elevation of others. Um, why is it so important for a bhakti yogi to propagate the message? I mean, traditionally we see many spiritual paths, especially in India, where people are more concerned just with their own elevation, personal advancement. Why, for a follower of Srila Prabhupada, this notion of propagating, spreading Krishna consciousness, giving it to others in a systematic way? Why is it so important?
Even in Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is speaking about classical yoga, Ashtanga yoga, or meditational yoga, uh, it says that the best of the yogis who are supposed to sit in Himalayas and keep their spine straight and meditate on Brahman or whatever, on super soul and the heart, it is said that the best of the yogi is one who, by comparison with himself, sees other sufferings and others' enjoyment. In other words, he is not callous to the suffering of other people. He takes them to heart, he feels them. And we know that the definition of a Vaishnava is the paradukha dukkha. The other suffering is his suffering. So compassion is a very important part of bhakti, because even Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says very interesting thing. He says that compassion is the same emotion as love of God. But when this emotion is addressed to God, it becomes prema. When the same, exactly same emotion or the same state of consciousness is addressed or how to say this, directed towards the human being, it becomes compassion. So compassion is not different from love of God. The same way you love God, in the same way you should feel for the suffering of other people. So, and if we don't feel for the suffering of other people, it means that we love God. When the same, and Prabhupada, therefore, he was so emphatic. He knew that, you know, this is a very important for those who already achieved this level of love of God. They will naturally be very compassionate. For those who are striving to achieve this level, the compassion will be sadhana. So it's the same you know, in Bhakti Yoga, there is no difference between the goal and the purpose to achieve the goal, the means to achieve the goal. Yeah, and therefore our goal is to achieve love of Godhead, and we are practicing living as if we have love of God. So in the same way, the goal is to become compassionate, because it's the same, it's tantamount to say that we have love of God, but how we do it? By practicing compassion, by trying to take responsibility for other people. And it's firmly based on a spiritual knowledge, on this very important principle of spiritual knowledge, that we're all connected. And if we are mature, we understand that we are connected. You know, the less people are mature, the more they are isolated. Srila Prabhupada translates this prithak bhava. Prithak bhava he translates as separatist mentality. Separatist mentality is the mentality of a person who is engrossed in the lower modes of nature, and who is immature, basically immature as a human being. The more mature he becomes, the less he is influenced by the lower modes of nature. His consciousness will become more expanded, and with this broader consciousness, he will take responsibility for other people. And compassion will be also a part of his spiritual practice.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. So the purpose also, the first purpose also speaks about educating all peoples in the techniques of spiritual life. Would you like to elaborate on what techniques of spiritual life means, what it indicates exactly?
Thank you very much. I think this is the most important question when we're thinking about this purpose. And I would like to give two other formulations of the same purpose. Srila Prabhupada was thinking about this mission very deeply, starting from early 50s, or probably even before. So in 53, when he established the League of Devotees, he wrote a prospectus, a very interesting document, which is there in folio, you can find it. And in the League of Devotees, he basically speaks about the same purposes in a more elaborate way. There are more points there, around 20 different points, not 7. But the first point is more or less the same. And I would like to quote, first of all, this prospectus of this League of Devotees, and then quote another document, which is more recent and more close to the 7 purposes. From this, we will very clearly understand what it means. So in the prospectus for the League of Devotees, the same purpose sounds in a little awkward way, but in a very beautiful way too. To propagate spiritual knowledge systematically, for checking the imbalance of life to the whole race of India and the whole world, with a view to educate the people in general in the techniques of spiritual life as the basis for balanced psychic and biological development of the human race, and thereby achieve real unity and peace of the contending elements of the present world. So it's a very, very, inspiring formulation. And there is another very important document which was found in Prabhupada's diary just before ISKCON was incorporated. As far as I could understand, this was the idea of Srila Prabhupada to make it as an ISKCON constitution. It's called Constitution of Association. But somehow or other, this largest document became 7 purposes. Nevertheless, it's interesting because this first purpose is formulated slightly differently and more close to the perspective of the legal devotee. To educate the greater human society in the techniques of spiritual life as the basis for balanced psychic and psychological development, biological development, psychic and biological development, and thereby achieve for the first time in human society a real peace and unity among the contending forces in the world today. So it's a very global sort of goal for the whole society. And what I would like to emphasize is that in both documents, in the Constitution of Association and in legal devotees, the perspective of the legal devotees, Srila Prabhupada not only used the phrase spiritual technique, that's common for all three formulations of this goal. But he also mentions the biological level and psychic level. So in my humble opinion, I was thinking very deeply what it really means, spiritual techniques for people in general. In my humble opinion, what Prabhupada means here, he means the idea or the understanding. And Prabhupada is very clear. He says that this is the idea which can unite all people. So obviously, by spiritual technique, it does not mean some unique spiritual technique which would divide people, unique to a particular religion of a particular creed of people of a particular culture. It's something which is very scientific and unifying. And in my humble opinion, what it means the paradigm that there is body, biological development. There is this material body, there is mind, psychic development, and there is spirit soul. We know this is a very clear Vedic paradigm, which is very clearly presented by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So this understanding, first of all, is scientific. And we can very scientifically try to prove it by all means, by the means of even modern science. So it's not sectarian. Second of all, if we understand this concept that the human body is not just physical body, it's not even the complex of mind-body, as some more advanced people suggest, some esoteric people, but it's the combination of the soul, mind, and body, and this combination is specifically meant for the soul. The soul is the prime principle, and mind and body are secondary principles. So if we propagate this idea, which is, again, very scientific and very unifying for all the people, then the balance can be established, because the imbalance in the society is because people emphasize bodily development, biological development, the needs of the body, and therefore by stressing or emphasizing the needs of the body, the competition is there. There is always some sort of mentality, scarcity mentality. I need more for my body, and there is always strife in the society. But if there is very clearly established this beautiful idea and simple idea that the most important element is the soul, the body and the mind are the instruments of the soul. If this concept is established, this is, in my opinion, what Srila Prabhupada means spiritual technique, or rather, not the concept itself as the technique, but the practical application of this concept in different areas of life. This is what Srila Prabhupada means by technique. You have this very clear and beautiful and simple concept that you're not this body, you're not this mind, you're the spirit soul which uses the body and the mind for your purposes. And then you see how this concept is applied in the area of relationship, family life, in the area of social life, and so on and so forth. So in this way, it becomes spiritual technique when you emphasizing the the importance or the primeval importance of the soul over the body and the mind.
Thank you, Maharaj. Very deep elaboration on the techniques of spiritual life. Now, Srila Prabhupada also say that these techniques of spiritual life will will check the imbalance of values in life. So, would you like to elaborate? Let me just see 1 minute. Here, okay. Yes, so the next question would be, what kind of imbalance of values are we trying to check? Can you give an example of values we wish to establish in society and ways of introducing them into society?
As I said, if we take this concept, very clear and simple concept, that we are this body, but definitely this body in a certain sense, we have biological needs, we have emotional needs which are there in our mind. It's very clear we have so many emotional needs, but we also have spiritual needs. And if we harmonize this system, there is a biological body or physical body with its needs. Over it, there is emotional needs of the mind. The mind needs some friendship, relationship, society, so on and so forth. And over it is the needs of the soul. So if this complex which we are hierarchically very clear, the physical physical level is the lowest level, over it is the mind psychic level, over it is the spiritual level. So the imbalance is that when we stress physical needs over mental needs, over spiritual needs, and there is so much problem and so much strife in the society, so much conflict in the society, because people are crazy after fulfilling their physical needs, forgetting the spiritual needs. So the first value is to value the spiritual aspect of our being. You know, to create a harmonious value system, we have to understand that the most important, the most valuable part of our society, of our being, of our life, is the spirit soul. If I understand this, the importance of the spirit soul, and then the body and mind, they're secondary to the spirit soul, then already we have the value system. The spiritual values are more important than the emotional values, and more important than the physical values. So that's the first thing. And then definitely, basically, what it means to put soul again in the proper place. That we're spiritual beings, which are using physical body and subtle mental body for our purposes, but we're essentially spiritual, not physical and not mental beings. So that's what it means. And if I'm talking about the example of the values, the most valuable thing for people, like people are crazy after food, and they think that they should live to eat. Then the purpose of life, the food, becomes a huge value in them. Or sex. Sex becomes in the modern society, it has become the value in itself. It doesn't really serve the purpose. It's something which is totally, completely valuable for people. But if we look from the different perspective, from the perspective of soul, we will understand that sex has its value, and this is the relative value of the sex. This is the relative value of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But what do I need the greatest value and the greatest need which I have is the need of love. I ultimately I ultimately want to love. And Prabhupada stresses, of course, that love is, it means service. So to check or to improve the values, we have to put the spiritual values on the top, and the highest spiritual value for the human society is the value of service, selfless service, which is synonym of love. I want to love. Love is the greatest need of the soul. If this is the greatest need of the soul, how do I achieve this purpose? I can achieve this purpose if I serve others, and if I serve God by changing His name and so on and so forth. So this is how Srila Prabhupada is speaking here. He is, of course, speaking in a very broad way, so that many other things can be included into this. But this is, in my opinion, how it should be understood, that we should place the spiritual values over the mental, emotional values and physical values, and stress the spiritual values. Primarily the value of service.
Thank you. So this first purpose talks about propagating spiritual knowledge, educating in the spiritual techniques, to check the imbalance of values. And then there is this final sentence, to achieve real unity and peace in the world. Now, is this largely utopian or also inspirational, or is it something to strive for? I mean, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness should realistically aim at influencing this planet so much to create unity and peace. What's your take on it?
Well, as I said, in other formulations of the same purpose, Srila Prabhupada is even more emphatic on this point. He says, for the first time in human society, a real peace and unity among the contending forces in the world today. So, obviously, we should not interpret it as just utopia or just, I don't know how. Srila Prabhupada is definitely very serious about it. It's not by chance he's saying this for the first time in human society, a real peace and unity among the contending forces. He did want it. We should, while speaking about this, we should definitely start. This is the starting point. Srila Prabhupada wanted. How he wanted it, how it will be achieved, that's the big question which we should think. But we should not dismiss it. We should not think that this is some utopia or some inspirational thing, just, make some big goal and then which you will never achieve because you know that this is too big to achieve. No, he wants it. And in my opinion, we should, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we should understand that it is possible. It is possible. How it is possible? Again, the strife in the society, the people, they become competitors with each other. They're, entering into war because they think that it's body. And this concept, this material concept, materialism, is a very dividing concept. The quarrel and the problems in the world today is because people are primarily and mostly at large, they are materialists. And because they think that the body, there will always be this scarcity mentality. I need more resources. And therefore, they will neglect this Ishavasyam principle, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Whereas when they understand that I'm spirit soul, it means that there is God who created me. I'm sorry. Who allocated what I need, what is there. He's taking care of it. I don't have to worry about it. I'm too emphatic about it. I just really want to say that Prabhupada is not joking. I really want. And it is achievable. How it is achievable? It is achievable if this simple concept is widely propagated, because all the all the conflicts in the society is because of this misunderstanding, this materialistic understanding of life, and therefore people will always be struggled for the influence, for power, and so on and so forth. But if I understand that I am the spirit soul and I am the servant, and I start serving, if I put the service at the highest value, and I will try to achieve this service mood as my goal in life, then there is no point of quarreling. So if this concept, or if this understanding is propagated widely, then there will be peace. There is no doubt about it. But first, of course, we have to make peace in our own society. What I can see sometimes, it's very hilarious. We're speaking about this very great purpose, but we have so much strife and so much contradictions in our society. And again, in my humble opinion, why it is so? Because people don't understand the ABC of spiritual knowledge. Because they want to dominate over other people with their ideas, and because of the pride, when we understand that the spirit soul will become humble, and when we become humble, most of the problems are solved. uh, all the problems is because we are proud. Because we are so proud, then there's so much problem in the society and in our society. So if we place in relationship to our society, in relationship to the devotees, if we are talking about the values, correcting the value system, then we have to place this value of service, and it means the value of humility on the top. I'm influence, the influence, the power in the society, the position in the society, to become recognized as a savior of the society, to become recognized as a very true follower of Srila Prabhupada. This is all secondary in comparison to this basic value of humility and service. If I value this, I will try for this. I will not try to, dominate over other people and quarrel with other people and say, you don't know anything, only I know, only I'm the true follower of Srila Prabhupada. If you are the true follower of Srila Prabhupada, follow him. It means serve others and create the unity within our little society. If we create the unity within our little society, then we will be able to propagate it there. Otherwise, we're hypocritical. Srila Prabhupada definitely means it, but it also means a very important message, and I think this is one of the most important messages of Srila Bhakti Charu Maharaj, who just left us. His whole life, he was striving to unify our society, ISKCON society, and Prabhupada, this is his last instruction. Why don't you cooperate with each other? And the very fact that the cooperation is not there, that the value of cooperation is not established in our society so firmly, is because we ourselves didn't understand the spiritual concept, the spiritual paradigm, the paradigm of service, the paradigm of love. The most important need of the soul is to love, and to love means to serve. So, and to serve means to become humble. So if this understanding is established, then this ideal will be also fulfilled. Otherwise, it will remain a utopia. Yeah, people will just, they will say, yeah, very nice, very nice. But we have our business to do. Let's prove that we are right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah, in fact, when you were talking, especially about the broader aspect of unity and peace in the world, we received a question which you largely already answered, but maybe you want to add something. And this is a question from somebody you know very well, is Bhakti Rasayan Sagar Maharaj, who was asking the same thing. Again, you already answered. But if you like to add a few words, what can help different devotees to achieve unity and peace among themselves to show a good example to the world? Yes, you answered. In fact, Maharaj is thanking you. Thank you for the answer. But if you want to add a couple of words, and by the way, Maharaj, we also have another couple of questions online. If you like to take them, we have a few minutes more.
Yeah, I definitely thank you very much for this question. Yeah, I can definitely add something to this. When we deal with other devotees, the most important principle upon which our interaction with other devotees should be based is the presumption of their devotion. As much as there is this, how you call it, the presumption of
Innocence.
Of innocence. The presumption of innocence is there. It's the foundation of the judicial system. So in the same way, when we deal with other people, with other devotees, there should be presumption of devotion. They are devotees. And it means that they also want to serve Srila Prabhupada. It means that they're important for us. It means that we should try to understand their point of view, not necessarily without even listening to them declare that they're demons and Kali Chelas and Asuras from the lower planetary system who came to destroy ISKCON and this and that. Unless it's proven. First we have to prove. But usually people, they start from this point. This is the presumption. They're demons. Everyone else is a demon. Only I'm a devotee, and everyone else is destroying ISKCON, and everyone else is just not following Srila Prabhupada. Only I'm following Srila Prabhupada. So if this presumption of devotion is firmly established in our dealings, in interaction in the society, then we will be able to understand other people, their point of view. It's valuable. Usually when I hear contending parties within our society, they have some valuable things to say, but they cannot hear what others want to say. It's not difficult to synthesize their points of view. They're usually not contradictory. They bring them, and try to, how to say this, collide against each other. But actually, they are not contradictory. They are from different angles of vision, and they can be synthesized very nicely. So I think this listening, when we listen to other people, try to understand what they want to say, and when we have this initial understanding that these people also want to say something important, they have very important understanding of how to improve our society, then we will be able to establish unity within our society and spread this unity. And again, this unity will be spread in our society if this paradigm is established. I'm spirit soul. What is the need? What is the prime need of the spirit soul? The prime need of the spirit soul is to serve, not to establish my supremacy or superiority over others. But I'm the servant of the servant.
Thank you, Maharaj. We do have 8-9 minutes to the hour. Of course, if you like to go over, it's up to you. Otherwise, we stop at the hour. We have a couple of questions from our online viewers. Would you like to take them, Maharaj?
Sure.
Okay. So we have a question from Shilpa Karini from Belgrade, Serbia. If she's asking if Maharaj can say a few words about preaching in a country where Orthodox Church is very strong and trying to present ISKCON like a sect, or like they say also in English, like a cult. So both, of course, Russia and Serbia, the Christian Orthodox Church is the predominant church. So if you have a lot of experience in that field, if you'd like to say a few words, how to deal with the fact that a very prominent church is trying to present the movement as a sect, as a dangerous sect, as a cult.
So therefore, to counteract this propaganda, which is definitely very strong in such societies, we should stop being the sect. we should become, we're supposed to be, scientific spiritual science. We're propagating spiritual science, and rational people will understand this. That's why I say that this paradigm, which is presented in this first purpose of ISKCON, especially in the more elaborate versions of the 7 purposes of ISKCON, like this Constitution of Association or Prospectus for the League of Devotees, it's a very interesting, material or document for meditation or for thinking about vision of Srila Prabhupada. So basically, Srila Prabhupada is very emphatic in establishing universal principles which are scientific, which are not sectarian by nature. Like this principle, that there is body, there is mind, and there is soul, and the need of the soul is to serve. Srila Prabhupada didn't even use very often the word love, because love is such a misunderstood notion. It's a very misunderstood and misused term. He used service. So if we propagate the scientific understanding as a basis of our preaching, and Prabhupada said that, if you take this, then you can use it within your religion, you can apply it within your religion. There are some scientific principles. You know this body, and it means this, this, and that. You know this body, and it means in the area of relationship, it means this, 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 and that. So if we scientifically preach, then rational people will understand it. Irrational people, there's no use to waste our energy and time with irrational people. But rational people will be able to appreciate. And I know quite a few, not so many, but a few Orthodox priests who are in their leisure time under the blanket, read Prabhupada's books and appreciate Prabhupada's books very much, because they see that there is a universal spiritual science. So we have to learn how to present Krishna consciousness not as a sectarian religion, which will always create some sort of opposition, but as the spiritual science. And this initial, very basic paradigm that there is a soul which uses the body, and uses the body either to destroy the world, to enjoy, to exploit everything, to exploit nature, or uses the same body and the same mind in the service of God and subsequently in the service of the society, that will be appreciated by rational people. They will not mind.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. Obviously, you have a lot of experience in this field.
The elements of spiritual science are there in Orthodox Christianity everywhere. They're basically the same. It's just Prabhupada gave it in a very clear, structured way, so that it could be systematically understood and rationally understood.
Now, the last questions we have from our listeners, from our viewers, is from Braja Vanita Dasi. is in two parts. Basically, it refers to when you were talking about the ISKCON as an expansion of the energy of Srila Prabhupada. And she was saying that this statement could be corrupting for the representative of the institution, who can take it on his own account and invest in his own interests. So my understanding is that she's saying, yeah, we could say that ISKCON is an expansion of Srila Prabhupada energy, but some officer, some person who has some responsibility in ISKCON could also misuse it.
This danger is always there. The danger of misuse. You know, we are living in this material world, and everything basically can be misused. Even simple things can be misused. The knife is a very nice thing, but it can be misused, and it will become very dangerous thing, even though it's a common stuff. What to speak about spiritual philosophy? Spiritual philosophy can be misused and can be a very can become a very material instrument for exploitation. There's no doubt about it. And we have seen it, unfortunately, even within our short history. Some people do it. And of course, this understanding on this concept that ISKCON is the extension of Prabhupada and we should serve ISKCON can also be misused. But first of all, we have to understand that even if somebody, let's say, hypothetically, there is a leader who is misusing it for his own aggrandizement, his own benefit, so on and so forth, and you happen to be working under him. Still, if you're doing it with a very sincere soul, there's no harm. You're serving Prabhupada society. You're serving through this to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada knows that you're serving him. It's very interesting. Prabhupada, he was not so much concerned about the potential misuse of him, because he knew that ultimately, if people are sincere and if they're serving, it will not go in vain. I have seen it. Yes, some leader may become little deviated. He may become, he may develop exploitative spirit. But if you sincerely serve, what is the point? What is the law? What is the loss? You're developing your serving propensity, your devotional propensity. Srila Prabhupada knows your sincerity. Krishna knows your sincerity. He accepts your service. And if somebody misuses your service for his own benefit, it's his problem. It's not your problem, really. And of course, we as devotees, we should not allow other people to exploit us. We should be careful about this. We should not be naive and, but at the same time, we should not be overly paranoid about this. I've been in different situations and, but I was in different temples, and I was happy in all the temples where I was. And I was happily serving Srila Prabhupada. I was serving the ISKCON society, and I saw some deviations here and there, but generally, still, nevertheless, I don't think we should be overly paranoid about it. But of course, we should be mature. We should be very clear. If somebody is misusing it, we should make the necessary steps to stop it if we can. But otherwise, we can just continue serving. Krishna sees the purity of our purpose. I don't think it could be, I don't see the point. And if this mood is established, then it will be very difficult to misuse this. If everyone is serving, like when we, uh, uh, even if a simple person, a simple bhakta somewhere, if he has very sincere service attitude, it's purifying to everyone. It's purifying to himself, and it's purifying to the whole atmosphere, and everyone sees it and everyone appreciates it. And Srila Prabhupada, he established such a firm spiritual values in his books, and that even if somebody is misusing it, sooner or later it will be revealed. It will be, it rather sooner it will be revealed. It will be clear. It will become clear, and it will be corrected by one means or another. So that's my not maybe not so politically correct answer to that.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much. So we are at the 1 hour mark, and we have completed the questions. Now, if you like to give a final message, or you focus especially on the first purpose of ISKCON, if you like to give a final message about the importance of this Incorporation Day festival, or of the 7 purposes in our life. I remember once I was in Vladivostok, and they were reciting the 7 purposes every morning after Mongol Arctic, like really part of the spiritual program. So I'm saying, if you like to say a couple of words, if you have time, otherwise we could stop here. But if you like to have a last message to our viewers, both those online now and those who will see this recording.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Pankaj Prabhu, for this opportunity which you gave to me. What I would like to say, that definitely you asked this question, but I want to re-emphasize emphasize this again, is that it's not just utopia, it's a very real thing, and we should, if we are true followers of Srila Prabhupada, we should take it seriously. And even though we may not understand how to do it, but we should definitely make it a point that this is our purpose. This is not the purpose of Srila Prabhupada. We are his followers, so it's our purpose, it's our mission. And Prabhupada gave such a beautiful spiritual science, which is not sectarian, which can be propagated far and wide in different areas of life, which is completely practical. And people, when they come, when they just become devotees, they are totally overwhelmed. They say that, I knew a little bit here, a little bit there, but here I see the whole complete picture. He gives the complete picture, which is very practical, applicable in different areas of life. And this first purpose of ISKCON, in my opinion, is the Angi, and the other purposes of ISKCON are Angas. They're parts, and this is the whole. It's not by chance that Prabhupada put this in the first place in all 3 documents which I cited. This is the most important thing. We should become spiritual scientists. We should become true followers of Srila Prabhupada. It means that we should not become cult members, sect members. In a broader sense means the followers of a big sect, or the sect members of little sect within this big sect, or whatever it is. We should really try to purify ourselves from this tendency to become sectarian, because unfortunately this sectarian tendency is within everyone. And sectarian means to take part for the whole. That's what literally the word sect means. When you don't see the whole picture, but you take a part and you try to present this part as a whole. You take the part of the teachings and try to pause or to propagate this little part which you have understood, or which is in resonance, in sync with your own mentality, your own understanding, and you try to push and promote it as the whole. No, to become non-sectarian, to become spiritual scientists, we have to strive ourselves systematically to understand the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, to have a very harmonious and systematic and wholesome vision of the spiritual science, practice it in a proper way, and propagate this. We will not be able to propagate it to the peoples. Srila Prabhupada used not the word people, but peoples of the world. So it means basically globally, we will not be able to propagate it unless we ourselves become non-sectarian. And non-sectarian means we understand the whole. We try to understand teachings of Srila Prabhupada, non-sectarian teachings of Srila Prabhupada, which is non-sectarian, and practice it in a non-sectarian way, and develop a very broad and rational mentality, scientific mentality, not sectarian mentality. Anyway, it's a very important day, and it's our purpose. It's my purpose, and especially now because the whole world is in turmoil. The whole world, actually, what happens? Everyone now in the world, more or less, is hoping that it will be over and we will continue the same way. But it's not going to be the same. But unfortunately, there is a minority of people who understand that there should be some alternative way of living, but they don't know the alternative way of living, unfortunately. Most of the people, they just want to continue the same way, and the nature will not allow this. It's just, we are impasse. The whole civilization is in impasse. It's a very critical hour. There is quite a few people who think that who think about the change, but nobody has the complete picture. We as a society or as followers of Srila Prabhupada should come together, should put our minds together and try to figure out what is real model, practical model for the whole world. Because now there's no alternative model, and unfortunately, ISKCON does not provide alternative model either. But at least we should try to think about it, or at least try to preach to those people who are capable of creating alternative models for the world to live, because the world needs an alternative, and ISKCON can provide the alternative, definitely. And Prabhupada wanted that it would provide the alternative. He said that the historians of the future will speak about ISKCON, that ISKCON saved the human society when it was the most needed. So this hour has come, and we should understand this. Otherwise, the destruction is impending. I am not alarmist myself. I am not a doomsday sect member. I don't want to create some sort of agitation, but it is serious, and it means that we should take responsibility globally for our own life, for our own society, to improve our own society, for the sake of Srila Prabhupada and for the sake of the whole world. We should try to do it. Otherwise, what is the use of being an ISKCON member? Paraphrasing Srila Prabhupada, he used to say, what is the use of being American if you don't think big? So what is the use of being an ISKCON member if we don't think globally, if we don't take responsibility for the whole world, if we just satisfied with our petty little achievements and with our petty little quarrel when we become victorious over other people? That's what I wanted to say.
Maharaj, many thanks for the depth of insights, the information, the knowledge, your energy. Decades meditating on these purposes were transmitted to us. So we are very grateful that you could participate and you could be the first speaker on the first purpose of ISKCON. We also thank all those who watched live and those who will watch this video later. And we have the whole series on reaffirming the 7 purposes of ISKCON in connection to this Incorporation Day coming up on the 14th. And you can go to our website, or you can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/GVCSPT, and click on the events, and you have all the other speakers for all the other purposes with all the timings. So, Maharaj, many thanks for your participation. We are extremely grateful. On behalf of the GVC Strategic Planning team, thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Humble obeisance.
Obeisance, Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada.